What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner and Cult Flick Symposium. I'm, of course, back with another review. I've just seen Silent Night. I was supposed to see this last week. Did not get around to it, but, cooler heads prevailed this week, and I did, in fact, get out to the theater to see it. Kind of hyped for this one. In ways, I'm a big John Woo fan, who really isn't, but as of late, John Woo's best work is behind him. But who doesn't love a good Christmas movie with action and horror? We love our heartwarming, stereotypical Christian movies. Of course we do. But every once in a while, it's fun to, dive in John McClane Die Hard style. Or, what Violent Night last year, very similar in title, I'm realizing now, was also very fucking good, and it did have the heart and warmth of a Christmas movie, but it was fucking David Harbour, bro. Just tearing people up as Santa Claus. Sometimes it's fun to dabble into this mess, and John Woo doing a Christmas shoot 'em up type of film, revenge film at that. Who doesn't love revenge films? Sign me up, man. For those of you that don't know, let me just go ahead and say this movie seems to be getting a lot of mixed reviews. I've seen people say they love it, but I've also seen people say, what the fuck is even going on? And let me tell you right now, those people that are saying what the fuck is going on, if you actually read their review, you'll probably get to the, grit of what they mean by that. But if you just read, you're one of those headline readers, like, honestly, let's be honest, I do that sometimes. Most of us are that way. That's how they pull you in. You see the link to something and the headline's crazy and you're just like, yeah, but I don't want to click on that. And more often than not, it's not what we thought it was actually going to be. So with this movie, if you just look at oh man, this movie sucks, without reading, what makes up why this movie sucks, you could easily be misled, because a big reason it seems that a lot of people feel this movie is missing the boat is because of its gimmick. What would that gimmick be? If you don't know, this movie, Silent Night, is basically not just the lead actor who loses his voice because he's shot in the neck. This is not a spoiler, people. It's in the trailer. That's where the revenge starts. He can no longer talk, can no longer speak. They basically took his whole life from him. But they also choose to take away the voices of every actor in this movie. Now, there is moments where you hear like one-off shit, like where they're like, maybe somebody gets, gifted something, or maybe somebody is handed something. You might hear like a thank you, but it's really like muffled and like muddled down to where you could almost not hear it, or you hear like a okay or yeah, something one off. No conversations are fucking had in this movie at all. Aside from, and this wouldn't even count as a conversation because it's just a one-off person talking, kind of like how I am right now. There's times where the radio will be on. They'll be like, hi, this is 98.6.8, whatever the fuck radio station, like getting kind of cold out there, like that type of thing. That is the only voices that you really, for the most part, hear in this movie. And I think for a lot of people that wore thin, and for a lot of people, they're just like, why? For someone like me, I watch this and I'm like, cool, it's kind of weird and odd, but Silent Night, it fits with it. Let's, get creative and see if you can do this. I can be someone who's more inclined to go for a ride like that. That's just in my nature. That's just who I am. I'm that guy that doesn't say why. I say, let's see where this goes. And I'll tell you this, I was kind of half and half on the no talking. There was parts of me that was just like, oh man, this is kind of fucking cool. But there was other parts of me, I'm like, man, if they had dialogue right here, this probably would be even better. But never at any point did I think it was to the movie's detriment. So I think this movie is going to get a lot of unfair reviews for this reason. So know that going in. If it's not your type of movie, okay, I get it. But don't be, steered away by reviews thinking this movie's dog shit, because it is not. It is just a little different, and there is a gimmick at hand here. But I will say, as much as I'm like, yeah, there maybe needed to be dialogue, what really splits me is I think what makes it kind of unique and stand out over time, the silence of the movie does add something. But again, is there times where I'm like, okay, like maybe even this shootout right here, if there's a guy just like, come here, motherfucker, like whatever the fuck, insert statement here. Maybe it would amp it up. But at the end of the day, like, do we really need that? As long as we got the guns blazing, as long as we got the John Woo slow-mo, the patented John Woo slow-mo, which was not really overly utilized in this film, which I think is a good choice because that's kind of died off. But as long as we got, the main things we came here for, the action, is that good? Yes. Was it great? That's where I get into it with this movie too a little bit. It's not bad, and you kind of got to grade shit on a level because John Wick is like ruined everything for everybody, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even think of another good action movie from this year other than the amazing John Wick 4. Extraction 2, I thought was pretty damn good, and I called it out in that review. Like, we got to, measure our, level out our standards here because John Wick has just fucking changed the game. This is a damn good action movie. That's what I was saying about Extraction 2. This is the same thing. The action scenes, you're just like, okay, it's not John Wick level, but not everything is gonna be John Wick level. But it was pretty good, passable action. I was on board. And then the ending happened. Oh no, he's gonna say it gets worse. No, the ending, I think, is where it really rescues it, and the action is just not just good to passable, it is fucking great. The final showdown, still not John Wick level great, but I do think the end action sequence to Silent Night is a hell of a lot of fun. So what it lacks in words, it does make up for in action, and it makes up for the most important part of this movie that I didn't expect to get, especially knowing going in that there's gonna be no dialogue. It sells you on the lead character's story and how damaged he is by losing his son, because this man is all in on getting these motherfuckers back. And you know what? A good revenge film needs that. Obviously, you got to have the plot, but do we believe it? Do we buy it? Do we buy this man's revenge? And this movie sells it to you. Their relationship, you can feel it. It's palpable. This man was a good dad and he loved his kid, and it makes the revenge and him going all out more believable, as crazy as it seems. I mean, we kind of let these things go in any revenge movie anyways because we know we need a movie, but you believe he would go on this fucking rampage because this dude fucking loved his son, and that's what makes this movie so good to me. It's just, you buy the fuck in. Also, big Kid Cudi fan here. Super cool to see him in the movie. Nothing overly special. I feel like it's kind of hard to, find overly special shit outside of our central lead because there is no dialogue. Again, that goes into where it's a half and half for me. But Kid Cudi does at least get a couple moments to shine in this movie, which, as a big fan, was really fucking cool. All the bad guys in this movie, I think, are really believable. Going into that build-up that I was talking about, the musical cues and choices in this movie, the soundtrack, almost oddball at times with synthy and like this as the fucking adrenaline's building to like that final conclusion where it is a big shootout. Not that there's not action along the way, but the final shebang, there's always something building and the music is building with it. It's just like, almost like not dubstep at all. Definitely not dubstep, but like those drop noises, like it's always like building and then there's a drop and then you're fucking listening to this music and you're like, oh yeah, bro, we're going on this motherfucking journey. You're locked in. This movie, man, I thought was fucking great. It kind of waned a little bit for me, but then the action at the very end really saved it. And then that last little fucking punch home that was just like, oh man, like, wow, like, the emotions of, what he had to do with the revenge. And then I'm not going to say what happens. Obviously, it's not spoiler review, but again, bringing the emotion back around with everything, with losing his kid and then the trauma he had with his wife and just not being able to go on. And then honestly, just looking back from just a perspective, yeah, you can be like, why was there no, I mean, I get it. Oh, Silent Night, but why no dialogue? But the fact that they pulled it off and were able to get you to emote in these moments without dialogue, and we're able to, like, I'm literally at certain points, I'm like, how are they going to close this scene? How is this scene even going to happen? I was saying that a lot of the time without dialogue, but they found creative ways around it. I got to give it respect for that, man. I ended up loving this movie. I think this is an 8.5 out of 10, and I think this will be a continuous, watch for me. Year round, I will always want to pop this movie in. It's not the best John Woo film, but I've seen a lot of people say this too. Like, critics-wise, it is one of the better ones he's made in a long time. And it does just enough to separate itself from other revenge films. Sure, there's moments, sure, there's little cliches, like I've seen this before, but it has its own flavor. Maybe that is The Silence. Maybe it's more of a nuanced approach where it's a little bit of everything. The Silence isn't a big thing, like, okay, movies have been silent, like that's a gimmick, yeah, but you throw in like a little thing like that, and then a little thing like it's a Christmas action movie, and you add in enough of these little things to where it does kind of stand on its own. So I gotta give it its flowers, man. It actually exceeded expectations. I really like Joel Kinnaman. Is that his fucking name? God, I'm probably fucking this up at the very end. I think he's a terrific actor. I think he did a great job here with what they're given. I mean, it's not easy to not talk and still deliver. And the actors, not just the script and the way it was directed and orchestrated by Wu, just they all pulled it together quite nicely. I think they did a damn good job, especially for what they're given, because no dialogue, it's less. Sometimes less is more. Obviously, wasn't for some people, was for me. I dug it. See Silent Night while it's still in theaters, man. There wasn't enough people there. It's only the second week it's been out. I think it deserves some more shine, and it's a positive step in the right direction, I think, for John Woo. But again, know what you're going into. There's not going to be dialogue, people. Virtually no words in the whole movie. So if that sounds like a problem for you, it probably will be. If you feel like you can get on board with that kind of different type of, going into a film with that type of thought, then you're probably going to enjoy this movie. It's a damn good action movie. Love you guys. Peace. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good shit. I gotta say that, right? That's like a thing. See ya.